Even a diamond is not built without pressure, you know? For a diamond to get its shine, you need to put it under tremendous pressure. That's when it actually comes in its true form. From a very young age, I've dealt with a lot of things, which is why I think I matured quite early in my life. Of course, financial independence, financial freedom had always been like my goals very early on because of these experiences that I've had.
I've seen creators like this tell that "Arey, we didn't start with numbers and I don't care with numbers, but that there is some inside.
Of course, that's like I said initially, like, almost when I reached 100K followers on my Instagram, up until then, I was like very fixated on it. I would be like so bothered. I would be like, okay, it's 99K now, it's going to be 100K now. Like I was so fixated on that. So a lifestyle influencer is someone who showcases their entire lifestyle. They're not, stuck to like one set of genre. Like there's different genres in content creation. There's comedy, there's fitness, there's food, there's travel, there's beauty. Shows every aspect of each of this. Like you're not restricted to any one of them. You can actually showcase any of these things.
Namaste everyone and welcome back to another fresh episode of 3XP podcast. This is me Kunal Raj and today we have an exciting guest. Her name is Kezaia Caldeira and she's not just an amazing lifestyle influencer but also an actor, a host, an MC and much more. And trust me, this episode is going to get spicy as we dive into her lifestyle, into her secrets, into some tips and tricks which you can definitely use if you are thinking of getting into lifestyle influencing. That is the term, maybe influencing, but yeah. And yeah, I'm really excited because this is the 99th episode which I've been thinking to cross from the last year, and finally we are doing it in 2025. So yeah, that's pretty much with the intro. I see you in the episode. Enjoy. So Kezaia Caldeira, welcome to 3XP podcast.
Thank you.
And today we are going to talk a lot, almost like the decade worth of experience in all the fields which are in. But really don't know, like, does self motivation works without any external forces acting upon you?
Okay, firstly, hi, and thank you for having me here. I'm truly honored that I'm able to speak to you today.
Pleasure.
Well, the question was whether self motivation requires external pressure. I definitely believe so because even a diamond is not built without pressure. You know, for a diamond to get its shine, you need to put it under tremendous pressure. That's when it actually comes in its true form. So I believe even for a human being, it's exactly the same. For you to be able to motivate yourself, you need tons and tons of external pressure that actually propels you forward to motivate yourself and to move forward in life. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
So I am super grateful to have you here. So, and I think this episode will motivate me to do more episodes. People must be asking you a lot of things, right? This advice, tell me your challenges, this and that, whatever. But what do you crave, like people to ask you more, other than your, how you do pageant or where you go, this and that.
That's a very good question, actually. Yeah, like you've said, a lot of people have asked me about my journey, about how I grew myself, how did I do things. But I think a lot of people do not know what personal life struggles that I've gone through. I mean, I don't want to get too into it and like
Yeah.
delve a lot, but then I feel like that's one area that has not been discovered yet about my life. And if people would ask me that, I would be definitely more than willing to share my life story because that's where a lot of my growth and a lot of my evolution has happened personally. So yeah, that would
So,
definitely
what
be
are
it.
your personal challenges?
Okay, well, now that you've asked me that,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just try and give a brief. It's a long story, of course, but I'll try and like tell you in a little bit of.
Yeah.
So I was raised by a single mother. I lost my dad when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So that struggle began like right then, like not having one parent, of course, is already a difficult job. And my mom had to like look after me all by herself. She was a working mother. So it was very difficult to like, have that work-life balance and be there for the kid at home, plus work, earn money and come home. So I've seen that struggle very early on in life. And that independence that I have today, I think is because of that, because I had to be alone home at home, right? Because mom wouldn't be there the entire day. So a lot of things I had to learn to do by myself. which is where my independence comes from. And eventually, not a lot of people know about this, but my mom has bipolar disorder. So that has also been fairly bit of a struggle for me personally, because it's not easy to deal with mental illness. Of course, that's anyways, a big taboo in our country. And from a very young age, I had to look after her and deal with all of the consequences that it had and a lot of things like that. So from a very young age, I've dealt with a lot of things, which is why I think I matured quite early in my life. And of course, financial independence, financial freedom had always been like my goals very early on because of these experiences that I've had. So yeah, this has,
I think this thing wouldn't be out, I think,
of course
anywhere,
not,
right?
yeah.
So that is it. Cool. There's a quote which says find peace in chaos, right? So how do you find that peace in all that chaos and work life and everything?
Exactly. So, like I said, home life has always been a little chaotic because of course, external things and a lot of these circumstances. But I've always believed in trying to, see the best in everything. There'll be troubles, there'll be problems in everybody's life. Nobody is spared by it. But how you overcome things, how you make peace out of it, and how you make your life happen even through all of those chaotic moments is, I think, the essence of life essentially. And I always believed, I'm like this lotus. It's around all of the mucky water, but yet it blooms in all its glory. So that's how I have believed my life has been, like, even through the chaos and even through all of that muck, you still need to shine through.
There's a fun fact regarding Lotus and my name. My name is I don't know. It is in Sanskrit or something? It is called Lotus. Sort of.
Okay.
Maybe some relation.
Possibly, yeah.
From your 10 plus 2 years of experience, right? What has life taught you really hard? That slap on your face. कि भाई, these are the lessons you need to.
So I think what I've learned the hard way is not to be too focused on people's opinions. That's one for sure. Because earlier on in life, when I started off my journey, I used to be very bothered by what people would say. I would feel very conscious about the comments they would make about me. And for a while, I also would, like dwell on that for a while. Like, and which I realized in hindsight that it was just consuming my time and my energy for no reason. People are always going to have opinions, good or bad, doesn't matter. Like that Hindi proverb says, लोग कुछ तो लोग कहेंगे, लोगों का काम है कहना. So I realized that in time, fortunately, and I stopped giving that attention to people. And I've always been someone who's been a little rebellious, to be honest, ever since I was a kid. And I've always wanted to like achieve my goals irrespective of whether people believed in me or not. And I always went for it with that attitude, like I don't care what people say. I don't want to bother about it. It's my life and I'm going to give it my best. And whatever I feel with my conscience that, is right for me, I'm going to go ahead with that. So yeah, people's opinions, definitely that was one lesson that I learned earlier on. And it stuck with me for life. And I'm so glad I did that. Apart from that, I used to also be very fixated on numbers initially. Like how much money am I making, or how many views am I getting, how many likes I'm getting. Initially, it would bother me a lot. But over time, I've realized that that is also trivial. I mean, I've learned one principle along the way, which is intent over content. And that has stuck with me ever since. So I don't really create content or do whatever I do right now for the numbers. I do it because I have that intention of creating, of showcasing my art, of, spreading that knowledge or that entertainment source or that joy to the people when I'm performing. Whatever I do it with that intention now. And I think that has really helped me, overcome all of those negative thoughts about numbers and all of those things initially in my career.
Putting out more of positive energy, right?
Yeah, I mean, like I've said, if your intention is in the right place, no matter what the numbers, see, numbers you can never guarantee, right? Like the algorithm nowadays is like so unpredictable. So you can't really say what's gonna go out there and like actually touch anybody's lives or whatever. But for me, like when I create content specifically, it has always been with this intention, like either to spread some knowledge, like it should help somebody gain some knowledge out of it, or entertain them. You're spreading love, you're spreading joy. If somebody laughs looking at your content, like if it's a funny video, for example, what's greater joy than, spreading the love and laughter to people, or inspire people with your journey, with your story or with whatever way. So I always keep that intention in mind that it either has to entertain people, it either has to spread a message, spread knowledge, or inspire someone. So yeah, that are the lessons that
But
I've learned
isn't
along
that
the way.
like, I've seen creators like this tell that we didn't start with numbers and I don't care with numbers, but that there is some inside
Of
that,
course, that's like I said initially,
yeah.
I was like all okay, like almost when I reached 100K followers on my Instagram, up until then I was like very fixated on it. I would be like so bothered. I would be like, okay, it's 99K now, it's going to be 100K now. Like, like I was so fixated on that. But over time, I just realized like what's in
Now, yeah,
numbers.
what's
Yeah, I
now
mean,
then?
like, it doesn't really make sense. Someone who has even 10,000 followers can get a million views on a video that he must have put no
Hmm.
effort into also. The algorithm is so unpredictable. Like you never know which video gets how many views or how it goes and spreads. So don't be fixated on numbers, of course. Like I would say, I've always been, like I said, intention over the content. So yeah.
Yeah, because I was just trying out one experimental Instagram channel where I just recorded yesterday and I put it in the evening. I took 15 minutes just for a 10-15 second reels and I just put it. That went around like 4K, 5K. And then the reels, sometimes we edit for like 2 hours, 3 hours.
You
That
put your
get.
heart and soul into it and it doesn't perform as well as you thought it would. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It happens. But that's what I'm saying. If you keep your intention not to do it for the numbers and for the actual intention that you
Yeah.
have for it, then it's more than fulfilling.
The algorithm, what you told, right? It changes every day. Like, what was like 5 years or 10 years before what we were starting, and now, how much has it changed? Sort of, what used to work then, what
So
works
I
now?
wouldn't be able to tell you 10 years ago because I don't think I even took content creation seriously that long time ago. I think I must have started taking it seriously about 5 years ago. So
Okay.
5 years back when I just started doing content creation, it also happened not because I wanted to be a content creator. So I was a model back then and I used to just post my pictures and my work on my Instagram thinking that it would help me get more work. That was
Yeah,
my only
that
intention.
was that was what Instagram was for.
Yeah, exactly. Show
Gallery,
your
sort of. Yeah.
life and show your work and whatever. So that's what it was. And eventually I just, like because I won a couple of pageants and all of that, I started getting a little bit of popularity. And because of that, I got a lot of followers organically. So it's not like I created content to get followers. It just happened as a way of me putting out my work and people liking it possibly and like getting a little bit of that popularity. So once I got the followers, that's when I realized that the concept of like content creation or influencer exists. I didn't even know it 5 years ago. So once I got to know about it, then I was like, okay, if I have a number and if I have that platform, I'll use it, right? So that's when I started creating content. I started collaborating. I started getting a few brand deals here and there. So that's how it started initially.
Yeah, they say that you feel that 100 followers are less, but then you just imagine 100 people sitting in a room, they are following you.
Of course, yes. I mean, when you say numbers and you don't realize the actual impact of it, but I don't think followers matter anymore. Like I've said, even someone who has like 1,000 followers can create a video that reaches a million people. So I don't think followers is a very big criteria at the moment.
So with all the experience like collecting over the years, you learn a lot about life, business, revenue and everything, and then you start a podcast and you get this talk about it. Just kidding. But on a serious note, like say every podcast I have to do, I'm kind of a bit anxious because every time I have to come up with something interesting rather than, if I have three influencers talking, I can't ask the same, a template sort of a question, right?
Yeah, correct.
So how have you come over that? You must be also anxious before. I don't know if it is anxious or not, but how have you come over that? Over the anxiousness, if you call that, yeah.
Okay, like you mean like fright and camera consciousness, stage
A little
fright.
bit of anxiousness is there now
Of
before.
course, before any performance, before coming in front of any camera, any stage, there's always that slight anxiety, and I think it's necessary. Otherwise, if you're too chill, if you're too cool, you're not going to give it your best. The fact that you're anxious, it's showing that you're actually dedicated and you actually want it to go well. So it's a good sign, I think. You should use that anxiety to fuel your performance. So yeah.
That I think, yeah, that makes your brain to think more and
Exactly. It makes you more creative. It makes you feel that you're invested in that process. So, yeah.
So you are a lifestyle influencer, right? And I've been hearing this for the longest time. Like I haven't googled what exactly the actual definition is, but what exactly is a lifestyle influencer and what?
Well, like the term suggests, a lifestyle influencer is someone who showcases their entire lifestyle. They're not, stuck to like one set of genre. Like there's different genres in content creation. There's comedy, there's fitness, there's food, there's travel, there's beauty. But I think a lifestyle content creator is one who shows every aspect of each of this. Like you're not restricted to any one of them. You can actually showcase any of these things. So like for me personally, I do collaborations with like all of these genres. I would suggest a beauty product that comes under the beauty brand. I would suggest travel, of course. Like I take people onto my journey when I'm traveling. Like I show my entire journey, and sometimes I collaborate with brands like hotels and restaurants. So I, of course, even show food. There was a time when I was into fitness a long time ago. So that time I would also collaborate with fitness brands. So I think a lifestyle content creator is more of someone whose personality people connect to more than the kind of create content that they create. So I think building that personality connection, and people want to see, okay, what is this person up to? What is this person using? What is this person doing? And they be inspired by, your choices, your everything that you do. And I think that is what inspires people to follow a lifestyle content creator.
But isn't there a constant fight between you ki what particular thing I have to do? Because people say ki you have to niche down, you have to niche down.
See, you can take either of the approaches. Not, it doesn't have to be a particular way. You can either pick a niche if you think that that's what's going to propel you forward. But I didn't want to restrict myself to a particular niche. I knew I had a passion towards everything. Like I have a passion towards traveling. I love traveling. So I want to create content that has travel. I also like beauty. I like makeup. I like all of that. So I also want to show that. Like, why should I restrict myself to only one thing? I want to have everything, and there's nothing wrong in that. So I think lifestyle content creator is basically that, showcasing my life, showcasing my choices, my lifestyle. And if people get some sort of inspiration out of it, or if they get some help out of it, then what's better
There
than
used to
that?
be a time where I used to like acting as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, there was a fair bit of time that I tried it out.
Huh.
Yeah.
We are talking about you have to try something until you know that you are good, or
Correct.
you there's a inner calling ki bhai,
So, a lot of people have asked me this, like, like I've got a lot of fame, popularity. Why don't I try acting?
yeah.
Why don't I get into movies and all of that? I've got it a lot, and I still get it a lot. But I just think that acting is not just something that if you have a pretty face, or if you look good, or if you think you're a certain way, you need to get into acting. Acting is a skill. It's not something that just comes into everyone, and you need to work on that skill. Like a lot of people just think that you can just go one day in front of a camera and start acting. That's not how it works. So if I had to get into acting, I would take it seriously. I would do like, an acting school for a couple of months or whatever, do that entire thing. But I think anchoring and like emceeing worked out for me in a beautiful way in my life. And after that, there was no looking back at anything, because acting would have been a lot of more time consuming thing, and I would have to start from scratch again. So I'd already built this lifestyle for myself, wherein, I had these 2-3 streams of income and 2-3 streams of like my career that was working well for me. So why add on another thing that I don't know if I'm going to be good at? So I just didn't consciously, put my effort into it. And if I'm doing something, I need to do it wholeheartedly, or else I don't believe in doing it. So yeah.
Yeah, finding the right balance and
Correct.
yeah,
Yeah.
don't overload yourself. Okay,
Exactly.
cool. What other things are apart from lifestyle? Because there's a long list, right? So you can.
Of course. So, like I've said, I began my career with being a model, and I used to participate in a lot of beauty pageants. I won a couple of beauty pageants, and I also did an international beauty pageant that I won in 2016. So, post that, I used to do only modeling for a while. And like we know that, in Goa, the opportunities for like the glamour industry are a little less. And for me to make it big, I would have to move to bigger cities or something like that. And at that point of time, I didn't have that option, because, like I've told you, situations at home, like my mom being having a little bit of mental problems and all of that, due to which I could not leave her alone and like just move out to another city, or like, those kind of things. So I did have those particular restrictions that I had to be in Goa itself and, make something out of my career. And modeling, like I said, was not giving me the right opportunities at that point of time. So I was trying to segue into like something else and see what else can I do. And one fine day, anchoring just happened. I still don't remember. Actually, it's a very funny thing that I don't remember how I started and which was my first show. I don't even remember that. But I think somebody just suggested, like, why don't you try it? You speak well and, you know, you have a good presence and a good aura. Like, you should try it out. And I think I just started off randomly. The first couple of shows I must have been terrible at. I really screwed it a lot. And I had a very bad feedback also. I remember from like the second or third show that I did that nahi aata hai to kyun karti ho, and like, you know, those kind of comments like initially. So from that to today, like, you know, moving on to like nowadays, like, of course, I've worked on myself a lot, on my communication. Again, like I said, for any career that path that you choose, you have to give it your heart and soul. So after those first 2 3 shows that I did badly in, like, I went back home, I worked on myself, I worked on my communication skills, I researched a lot, like how do you speak in front of an audience. Like one whole year, I think, you know, I just dedicated to like just learning. And then when I went back with more confidence and with being more prepared, being more like of that research done and all of that, is when I actually found my calling, you know. Like I feel like now, like the stage is like meant for me, like, you know, it's like my arena, it's like where I feel the most alive. And now I can speak with confidence. Now I know that I can make people laugh, I can make people get up from their seats, be active, motivate people, which is a beautiful gift. Like, you know, like I've discovered this thing, and like, you know, why didn't I do this earlier, and like why didn't I put my heart and soul into this earlier? It's a beautiful feeling to be out there and, you know, inspire people, make people laugh. There's no beautiful feeling than that. So yeah, that worked out very beautifully for me. So being an MC and an anchor was one of those things that happened well for me. And like I've told you, content creation just happened because I used to post a lot of things on my social media, and I got that little bit of following and that number, which just propelled me to thinking like I'll use that number and try and create content. So yeah, I enjoy both of these equally at the moment. And who knows, I mean, there's lots more to try in life, and of course I'm looking forward to even more things, because I don't believe in being restricted. Like I've told you, I've always wanted to try everything, see what works for you, and when something works for you, you keep doing that, but keep adding more to your
Keep adding more spice to that. And
yeah, keep adding more spice to life.
cool. You mentioned you were practicing, right? How did you practice your communication and all that? Talking more to people or just talking to yourself, self
No,
talk?
I would do a lot of front of the mirror speeches. Like I would just take out speeches from the internet and just stand out there and like start reading it out loud. Once I did that, then I would start doing it in front of friends and family. So that's how I initially like started doing. But in terms of speaking and public speaking, I think I've always been a little bit of a natural speaker that way, because ever since school I used to participate in a lot of like these elocutions and speech contests and all of that. So speaking was never an issue as such for me. Like I picked it on earlier in life. But of course, when it comes to like performing on stage, it's a whole different ball game. You know, you have to be witty, you have to be quirky, you have to have the right amount of knowledge, the research, everything matters. So that's the kind of things that I started working on a lot.
How do you balance if something goes wrong, right?
On stage? Okay, I mean, a couple of times it does happen. You sometimes go blank, sometimes you say the wrong things. But of course, you can use humor to, I think, you know, kind of turn around the whole
Something
thing.
wrong said. Oh, I was just kidding.
No, I mean, you can't say I was just kidding, especially like, you know, the kind of audience that
Yeah.
I perform in front of. But then I try to like move it in a way and try to make it humorous, like, you know, like, yeah.
Cool. There are many sexist on Instagram where they say कि भाई female influencers they get followers easily, and it is more of skin game, showing the skin and all. What do you think? What is your comment on that?
First of all, the people who say this, I think they only are the ones who are responsible for giving that fame to those kind of influencers. So it kind of becomes like a very controversial statement, like you said, but it's very contradictory also. Like, you know, you are the one who are promoting it and you are the one talking about it. So of course it's going to happen. But, you know, I think that, see, every person is different, every content creator is different. What the kind of content they choose to create is entirely up to them. And I don't think that showing skin necessarily will give you a lot of fame. Like there are a lot of people out there who do it, but who don't get that kind of traction and who don't get that kind of an influence. So it's not entirely true that if you show skin that you will be successful as a content creator. And like I've always been of this opinion that, you know, like a person's outfit should not be something that should determine their worth. So I would not agree with this statement.
Cool. And coming to your business part of revenue side, right? How have you distributed your revenue, or you're like focused on one particular?
Okay, so like I said, at the moment, there are these two streams of income that I have. One is my emceeing and anchoring job, which is major part of my income source at the moment. I think almost about 60-70%. And then 30-40% is content creation. So, of course, I handle everything by myself at the moment, like every part of the business, like from creating invoices, like, you know, the finance bit, from pitching, the marketing bit, to actually performing, then even the editing bit. All of that I do it by myself at the moment, which is kind of getting a little too much on my plate at the moment. So
Yeah.
I will definitely look to, you know, delegate that to someone else. So I'm definitely trying to.
I hate that part of creating quotes and invoices.
Oh my God, that's such a
Until
pain.
something is coming, that is fine, but quotes and invoices is something that.
Yes. So imagine as a professional who you have to do everything yourself, you know, like when there's a business, you have like people in different departments handling different things. But here you're handling your entire business yourself, the finance, the marketing, the HR, and plus the actual performance. So it's
Yeah.
like a lot to take actually. And a lot of people wonder, like, okay, if I'm not doing shows very often, okay, like they'll think, okay, you just go on stage, you just perform and you're back. I'm like, that's not how it works. You know, there's so much involved at the back that people don't see. Like I said, creating invoices, accounting, doing all of those things, which I do all by myself. The research that you need before each show to go on stage. There's a lot of research that goes on to, you know, even speak new things. And sometimes it also happens that, you know, I have repeat clients and you can't perform that same set that you've performed once on stage. Like if it's the same company, for example, if I've performed a certain set in front of them, I cannot do the same thing
Yeah.
again. So I have to keep innovating. I have to keep, you know, researching and work on my skills and keep doing new things so that I'm also relevant and they also feel like I'm providing value to them. So yeah, of course, a lot of things goes at the back that people don't see and they think that it's a very glamorous job and there's nothing much to it. But of course, there's a lot. And okay, I'm also my own driver. I drive myself to most of my shows, even if it's like way down north, like 2 hours away. I drive myself 2 hours, go do my show for those 4-5 hours on stage in heels with all my research, with all my knowledge, with everything that I'm doing, and then drive back home. And then, of course, all of these other back end works that are always going on.
Quite a lot of work.
It is.
And while you're driving back, your legs must be like not going on the accelerator, right?
Yeah, it is a pain, but
You
it's okay.
develop a lot of calves with that, driving
I hope
yourself.
it has worked on my calf muscles.
There are agencies which manage influencers and all that. Hasn't any
Yeah.
agency reached out, or
A lot
it
of
didn't work
agencies
out?
have reached out, but I couldn't see the value in it yet. Like I didn't find a deal that would, you know, make sense to me, because they either had like unrealistic expectations or they had too much of a cut that they would take from my work, which why would I do that? Like if you're going to take 40% of what I'm making just to manage my work, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I haven't found anything yet that has been fruitful for me. If I do find something, I'm always open to it for sure.
On LinkedIn, you see that little sign, right? Open to work.
Yeah.
Cool. I was listening to one of the podcast where it said ki the poor person, the poor guy, he thinks about what has to be done today to survive for tomorrow, right? Then comes the middle class who thinks on a monthly basis, what I'll do so that I can survive for the monthly. Then is the millionaire who thinks for 1 year, right? What I'll do today so that I can, and then the billionaire thinks for 3 to 5 years, right? What has your part? What is your plan? Like you think every like how I'll manage for 30 days, how I'll manage for 1 year, or what? How
So are you
long term?
trying to ask me
Long
which
term.
segment I fall in?
No, no. What long term plans, or how do you plan out?
Okay, so I am not a very good planner, to be very honest. I'm more of a like in the moment sort of a person. So I don't really plan way ahead of things. Of course, there's some amount of research and some amount of planning in everything that I do, but I wouldn't like have like very long term goals, you know, like definitely not the billionaire millionaire category. So yeah, I mean,
That's the technique used to save tax, you know. Okay.
yeah,
Share,
that's
don't share anything, you know.
no, I'm not trying to save
uh,
tax here. Don't worry. But yeah, like I've said, I'm not someone who can stick to plans
hmm.
because I change my mind 100 of times. I'm like very indecisive, if I can say.
Hmm.
Like, if even if I'm like choosing something, like it may be as simple as like choosing a bag. I'm like, should I get it? Should I not? I'll give myself 2-3 days to, you know, actually think about it again and again. So I'm very indecisive. So a lot of planning doesn't work for me. So when the task is at hand, of course, I try and give it my best in that moment and do all of the research and all of the work that I need to do in that moment. So yeah, I don't believe in planning way ahead of time.
I feel if you commit some work to someone, then there is more tendency to get it done rather than
Of
if
course,
you just keep it
when
in your mind and
correct. When people are involved and there's a timeline attached, then of course you have to conform to it. So
hmm.
yeah.
And people people don't understand how much time it goes to if you have to perform somewhere, you have to select dresses and
Oh yeah, that's one aspect I missed out. Like picking out the dress, the makeup. Okay, the
hmm.
hair and makeup itself takes about 1.5 hour, 2 hours sometimes also. So that is okay. How did I miss that important aspect? So yeah, it's like a lot of work, from choosing your outfit, from grooming yourself, maintaining yourself, and also finding the right outfit for the right day
Hmm.
and for the right. It's not just about stage. Like even when I'm doing a shoot, for example, a content creation, even for that, to pick the right outfit, doing the right makeup, doing the right things to make yourself look presentable on camera, all of these things involve a lot of effort. So a lot of people who think that content creators or, you know, artists don't really have a lot of work to do, they really need to think more.
Hmm. Or do you put some energy to think that the outfit shouldn't repeat? Because I've
Ideally, I mean, I do try and not repeat, but we are human, yeah, and
yeah.
it's not possible for you to have a different outfit for every
Hmm.
single shoot or every single show. So I do repeat my outfits. I don't mind it.
Hmm. Because I've realized like doing multiple episodes, I have to go back and see whether I won this or I have to go and spend time selecting
Correct, yeah.
traveling tips. What would it be?
Okay. Firstly, of course, a lot of research. Try and find out all you know about the place, about the language, the culture. Like it sometimes happens, you know, like even like particular hand gestures that may be okay in one country is not
Yeah.
okay in another country. So be very careful of those things. That's one. Secondly, I've figured that Google Translate is like your best friend when you're traveling abroad because a lot of countries they don't speak English and they don't speak the language that you do, of course. So the only way to communicate with them becomes Google Translate, and I've literally saved a lot of my time and effort with Google Translate. So definitely keep that as your best friend when you're traveling. Just try and make friends. I think that makes the journey even more nice. Like when I was traveling solo to Turkey last year, I was going to a lot of places by myself, and you know, like of course, I enjoy my own company a lot, and traveling solo has always been fun. But the best part about traveling solo is you can make so many friends along the way and, you know, like meet people from different cultures. So that's what happened to me on that trip. Like I made a lot of friends. I like whenever I would go to particular areas, there would be like a group of like 2 or 3 people who are like, you know, in the same area and like doing the same activities. So you tend to make friends, and that makes the process and the whole experience even more enriching. So
Hmm.
yeah, that.
I find awkward going up randomly and talking to people. I know.
More than talking to people, for me, the awkwardness comes when I have to ask someone to take a picture for me. Because when
Hum.
you're traveling solo, there's no one else to take your pictures.
Hmm.
So that's like the most awkward thing for me when I'm traveling. Like, you know, even to request someone, can you please take. Like, people are, of course, very welcoming and very nice that way. And I've fortunately, whenever I've traveled and I've like gone out to places and I've asked people to do it for me, they've always been like very. Some of them have been overly helpful.
Hmm.
Like, there was this one. Gentleman that I requested. I was at this Malaysia's Petronas Towers, right? So I wanted a picture with the tower. This guy goes on the floor literally to take a picture for me, so that because it was not coming into the frame, because you know it's like high and when you're standing you
Yeah, you
won't
have
get
to
it.
go
So
to
he
the ground.
literally went on the floor to take that picture for me, and he was like a layman, like, you know, a
Hmm.
random person, but that was so sweet of him. Like, so yeah, I mean, like, but that's always a little bit awkward to ask
Yeah.
someone to like do it for you. And some people don't understand it, right? Like if you ask some random person who doesn't know, they'll be like, they'll give you like a weird expression, like, you know, what are you even asking?
Hmm.